Good day to everybody. This is Rob Mazak. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't. But for those who don't, I am a psychic medium with a bunch of really interesting services that I offer. But I like to do these talks, and I don't really like to develop a script. Just begin to talk from the heart and create a message that hopefully means a lot to others and helps others understand some of the spiritual aspects of ourselves. And tonight I wanted to talk about messages, signs, whatever you like to call them, and the fact that they don't necessarily come through for a one-time meaning. And so I'll explain what I mean by that. So I get a lot of different things, if you will, a lot of messages, intuition, whatever you want to call it, but information that flows through. Some people call it channeling. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's the fact that it's a connection to something outside of myself, that which lies outside of this human reality, whatever that is. And it provides us with guidance and direction and something that we can do to increase our consciousness or become a much better human or evolve or whatever it is that we need to be doing. And so a lot of us are including myself, will sit down and try to connect or pray or do whatever, and just send me a sign, and then I'll know what I'm supposed to be doing. What's my purpose? Why am I here? What am I doing? But the real secret is that we're being given information every second of our day. If we just learn to pay attention and begin to understand how it works for us individually, it's always different for everybody. And then the fun part is learning to trust what we get, and then sometimes we have to hold on to that information. The funny thing is when, we'll call it spirit, right? When spiritual entities, energetic entities, non-human spirit form, whatever you'd like to name that or call it, they exist in a place, if that's what you want to call it, a place that really is not constrained by time. And it is very interesting that when we get information from that quote-unquote place through entities or angels or spirits or whatever name you have for it, it doesn't necessarily apply to that very instant that you get it. And so it was a little frustrating for me at first when I was learning to connect, and I'd get information, and some of it was very timely, but I'd say a greater part of it didn't mean anything to me at the time. And I soon learned that, I don't know if soon's a good word, but I eventually learned that timing from the divine, spiritual world, let's just settle on a term for this particular talk. We'll call it the divine. Messages from the divine don't necessarily mean anything when you get it. And I've just simply learned to write it down, document it, hold on to it, and eventually it will be shown to me what it actually means. And, to be honest, if we got everything we asked for, if we were shown even a very small portion of what the divine knows, that greater knowing, the knowing of anything and everything, it would probably blow our minds and probably send us running the other direction. Our brain is a powerful thing, yet it can't possibly comprehend the enormity of the eternity. That's a big word, isn't it? But it's sort of like when you have a baby, right? you know, eventually we grow up to be human beings that can eat steak and, you know, drink beer, whatever, right? But you certainly don't start a baby out on that because they can't handle it yet. They don't have the experience. They don't have the stature for that. And it's the same with messages from the divine, is that you almost have to spoon feed us for a while to get us used to it, learn their symbology, learn their language, learn what works best for us for that connection. Some people do it through art, some people do it through writing, some people do it through meditation, running, working out. There's a lot of ways to connect. And so once we've established that, then it's really easy to get information. Okay, not easy, easier. How's that? It is definitely easier. And so I'm going to give you an example of something that really was given to me way out of time, right? Way out of time. And so about 8 years ago, I had a dream as I was sleeping, of course, and it was about me and one other person. I don't remember who it was in the dream now. It's a long time ago. But I distinctly remember that I was trying to open some kind of what I thought was a bomb shelter or some kind of big door, something to access another area, another place. And I kept putting in the wrong code, and then finally I was given a sequence of numbers rather, 5723, and I kept getting it over and over all night. I never really got to open the door, but those numbers really stuck with me, and so I documented it, wrote it down, and started using it for passwords or PIN codes or whatever here and there, you know, and I never really got any more guidance than that. And so about 3 years ago or so, I did get that number that came through, and so my wife was trying to determine if a particular real estate broker she was working for or was the right choice, and we were kind of not haggling, but we were trying to go back and forth on it and trying to figure it out and figure out if we can get some kind of message from the divine. And as we walked into the building one day, there was the address, 5723, whatever it was, right? And that was a very clear message to me that I'd been given something 5 years before it was time. And I thought, the last several years that was it. That was the reason I was given it. But I'm telling you, messages will keep on giving, right? And so I've really been studying and looking into and meditating on and searching for additional information from the divine about what this reality really is. To this day, I could never really prove to anybody 100% what this reality is because I'm not sure if I'm entirely positive on that. However, recently I've been really kind of hanging on the fact that this might be a holographic reality, a matrix, if you will, digital, something of the sort, or something that is much different than we imagine it to be. We're not even talking about round earth, flat earth. It could be all kind of things, but a lot more evidence, at least for me, right? And of course, evidence comes based on your perceptions. Your mind is going to provide to you all the stuff that surrounds you that supports your perception or your belief. So I'm not saying any of this is true, but it's kind of interesting because I keep being led down the rabbit hole that this just may be a simulated type reality. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. But I was sitting at my computer today at work with not a lot to do, which is not normal. And I was watching a video or two about simulation and different ideas, and got a little bored with it. And then I just heard this message: you need to search out 5723 in the Matrix. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So the very first thing I pulled up was very quite interesting, actually. It had something to do with the internet interface, and it was really, I'll tell you some of the terms that I discovered in this particular search initially, and they are things like gateway server, firewalls, servers, Windows agents, and the one that really got me was that I'm going to paraphrase, but it said something about using a ghost to access the operating system without preparation. And as you can imagine, all of this hit me like like a pile of bricks, if you will. I'm like, you mean all this time, perhaps what they're trying to tell me is that we really are in some type of simulation, and that there is a firewall, there is a gateway, there is some way to enter and exit. And is this code part of that? Now, I mean, I know this seems way out there and far-fetched, but it just really struck me pretty strongly that this all aligns with, if you look at a matrix in some type of artificial simulation, it would be computer generated, and it would involve servers and gateways and firewalls and all those things. Because if we're locked into some type of simulation, we would certainly not. I mean, the creator certainly wouldn't want us to be able to exit or discover the walls of our prison, if you will. So having firewalls out there would make a lot of sense, right? And it kind of brings you back to that that Truman Show, and the fact that he eventually figured it out, that he was living in not a simulation but a like a play. His whole life was inside of this world that everybody catered to, and he had no idea that there was anything outside of that until one day he found the firewall, if you will, right? And it's just, it's amazing to me that something you've received 8 years prior, it is being shown now to support some of the new information that you are receiving, right? Or have become interested in because you've been led that way. And so I want to encourage you guys, at this point anyway, that no matter what kind of information you get through dreams or through intuition or through random signs of any kind, I wouldn't hang your head on a particular meaning at that moment, but I would certainly hang on to that information, because what I'm finding over and over, this is just one example, but just over and over again, that information I received long ago is still relevant now. And so, and I guess it makes sense that, because at the time when I got that 4-letter or 4-number code, I was not really researching or even interested in flat earth or simulation or anything like that. So it really wouldn't have made any sense to me back then. And it makes more sense now. Now, a lot of you guys might be going, wow, I would really hate to know that we're living in a simulation. Well, you know, I don't think it really matters what this reality is. I don't think knowing what this reality is even makes a difference in why we're here, what we're doing. You know, the fact that we have to go to work, raise our kids, walk our dogs, all those things. I don't think that would change at all. And so, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all want to know. I want to know without, beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I just find it super interesting because I used to think that, you know, that if we're in a simulation and somebody, some kid in some basement somewhere is running a video game and we're part of it, you know, that seems very deterministic, where, you know, everything is planned and everything goes like it should. But I watched a video the other day where Elon Musk debated that, and he said, you know, why would a simulation be predictable and deterministic? You know, most people develop simulations to see how things are going to turn out. In his case, he says, we run simulations over and over to make sure that the rocket we have planned and built or want to build is actually going to work. And if we keep running the simulation until we work out all the bugs before we put a, you know, multi-billion-dollar rocket in the sky and it fails, and sometimes it still fails. But point being is, he's like, you know, people today run simulations simply to see if whatever they're planning or doing is going to work or where it goes. And I really thought about that. I'm like, wow. So if you look back at our history, you know, of all the known civilizations that we have written, I guess you say, in known history, it's likely that this is like the fifth time that we know about that civilization is rising to the top. And every time somebody rises to the top, or the civilization does, it somehow ends, you know, catastrophically. Anyway, I've kind of got off the subject a little bit. But point being is that it serves us to receive the information from the divine, like I said, whatever you want to call it, and then sometimes what I find is that they don't always give us a direct answer. I should say, the divine. Well, I'm using that term loosely, but point being, I find that my guides like to encourage me to do the work, to do the research. They like to not give me straight answers all the time. Oh, I mean, there's times, you know, maybe 50% of the time I get direct answers, but the other parts are like, here you go, buddy, here's a breadcrumb. Let's see where you go with it. And so, but let's be honest, if you're doing the research, putting the time in, and really digging into a particular message, topic, idea, it'll be more embedded into your belief system and your way of life than if somebody just gives you an answer. It's like somebody teaching you to fish or somebody giving you a fish, right? There's a lifetime of learning going on there. So I, you know, don't worry about the fact that some things don't make sense. They don't make sense then. They don't make sense at all. It's okay, because I guarantee you that at some point, if you hang on to that, it will make sense. And the other part of this message of looking at 5723 again was not just this particular idea of servers and firewalls and gateways and all that stuff, but what also popped up, like I think the second line of the search, was the fact that it's also an angel number, and the fact that it's reminding me that my mission, I've been slacking off on my mission. Not saying I'm not doing it, but I'm not. There was a specific line in there that talked about being more aggressive about it. And so that makes a lot of sense, right? And so we need those reminders, And like I said, this information could be coming from the divine, spirit guides, you name it, but it's definitely, in my beliefs, somewhere from outside of us, right? And it would be interesting to find out if we're simply just telling ourselves something from deep inside that we already knew. I don't know. There's a lot to wrap your head around, but that's okay. But once again, guys, we got to get away from looking for these huge, big signs that we think we need. Show me directly. I want to know it all right now. And don't get me wrong, I'm human. I want to know it too, but I also, through experience, realize I'm probably not going to get those big slap in the face messages. And when I do, it's usually because I'm not doing what I should be doing. And so ask, yes, but don't get yourself wrapped around how you think that message should come through. It can come in just a zillion ways, right? Somebody could say something to you that just strikes you hard. It could be that you open up a book, to some random page, and there's a passage of some sort that just goes, you're like, oh, wow, that's absolutely relevant right now, right? A lot of people like to just flip open the Bible and point and do that. There's a lot of ways you can receive messages, but one of the I think the best ways for most people, especially today in our hustle and bustle and trying to survive and make money, and everything's being more expensive, on and on and on and on, is through dreams. When we go to sleep at night, our conscious mind gets turned off, and we are a direct link. Our subconscious mind never quits, and that is a direct link to the divine, to God, to spirit guides, to whatever. And we get absolute pure messages through there without our conscious mind getting in the way, trying to create doubt, because of our experiences that we've gone through in life. And dreams are very, very prophetic. And I also encourage you, when you have dreams, that just to take the time and research it, go online, look at the symbology of different things. Like, what does it mean to be driving a car? What does it mean to be in a house? What does it mean to be shown on being shot? Right? All those things, everything matters. And not every interpretation online will make sense, but you got to weed through the ones until you find the one meaning that just stands out to you. And then once you learn the symbology and those that guide you understand what you know, you guys are now developing a common language, so that when they give you things, you pretty much know what they're trying to say. Every now and then, I get thrown a loop in a dream or a message. I have to go do more research. But I've done so much now that a lot of it just right away makes sense. And so I'm not saying I'm somebody special. I am not. I'm just like every one of you guys. Every one of us can receive very clear messages for us and for others. Right? I just happen to do it for others as well. And there's a lot of ways to describe how you get information about others that you should know, but that's not really the purpose of this talk. So, but messages are important. They are part of our life. They are part of the divine and our relationship with the divine. And I strongly encourage you guys to seek out, pay attention, quit burying your head and working forward and trying to get through life and not stopping and smelling the roses. Listen, look, hear, sense. Make sure that you are paying attention, because you will evolve much faster as a human. And so I will end this conversation and just by saying that we are very special. We are very talented. Every one of us are part of this cosmic consciousness. Without each of us, the cosmic consciousness could not survive. All of us are drops, single drops in the sea, if you will. Without the drops, there would be no sea. And so in that respect, we are all connected. We are all one, not the same, but we are all one. We know everything. Believe it or not, we are connected to everything. And we are completely plugged in. So pay attention and listen, and you will find wonderful and great messages that will help you move forward in this life. So I will leave you with that. Stay strong and live your life. Until later, Rob Mazak signing out.